Here's a question for you. You began your career in Hollywood, right, as a
Yes.
screenwriter. So, what
Yeah.
inspired your shift from entertainment to writing about food, health, and climate?
Well, I wrote for network television for 10 years, and then I got an opportunity to write with Howard Lyman his book Mad Cowboy. Um, and In fact, Howard had pitched it first to me that I could write a movie about it, about his life. And at the time, I didn't see where there would be a good movie in it. And then he said, "Well, how about a book?" And I said, "Well, a book I could try." Howard Lyman's story was that he was a fourth generation cattle rancher in Montana, turned vegan and then animal rights activist. So his health got much better. He's alive and well today at the age of 86.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to Climate Diet and Climate and Cuisine. My name is Jane DeMarinis, and I'm the Executive Director of Climate Diet. And today we are talking to Glen Merzer for Climate and Cuisine, our podcast. So, Glenn, welcome. So great to
Hey,
see you again.
good to see you again, Jane.
So, for those who don't know Glenn, and he is a household name, I think, at least in our house.
My
Um,
house too.
good,
Yeah.
good. He is a former Hollywood screenwriter. No, he's a current and former Hollywood screenwriter, both. He has a new film that we're going to talk about and excited about. But he is certainly a leader, continues to be a leading voice in the plant-based movement. Um, Glenn has written for television and film and started in Hollywood, and we'll get to that if he wants to share any of that. But one of his most influential books, and that's how I got to know him, is Food is Climate. And I was at COP26 and they were handing it out. This isn't the book. I couldn't find my copy, but I have to ask you, Glenn, were you at
Here's the
COP20?
book.
Oh, there it is. I think I shared it with somebody and they haven't given it back to me.
Oh, don't
Um,
you hate that?
but you were at COP26, right? I
No,
didn't
I
know you.
wasn't. Silas was, Silas Rao. And he
Okay.
apparently gave the book to Al Gore as Al Gore was stepping into an elevator.
Fantastic. Well, I was thrilled to get the book. And so what was hilarious is like a week later, my daughter says, "You've got to get this book. And I want to introduce you to Glenn Merzer. I've connected with him on whatever, I don't know what she
Uh-huh.
connected with you on, some social
Facebook,
media
yeah.
or LinkedIn or someplace." And she introduced us. But she said, "You have to read his book." I said, "I have the book right here." So, and I don't know if I'd already read it. But then when we talked, you were nice enough to let me steal your title, and
Uh-huh.
we have a newsletter called Food is Climate.
Okay.
So, Glenn, let's just get into, well, first, I'd like to just thank you for the tremendous leading role that you play in trying to do something so pertinent for our planet. And every year that we have these amazingly hot temperatures, I think of you and people like you that have tried to get people to understand there is something we can each do to get that temperature down. So, where should we start? Do you want to talk about the film or your new book?
Well, I'm happy to talk about the film. Well, let's start with the book because
Okay.
I have a new book with Dr. Michael Klaper called Moving Medicine Forward. And what we argue in this book, Dr. Klaper is the lead author, I'm the co-author. What we argue in this book is that doctors should be trained in nutrition. And Dr. Klaper expresses really his embarrassment that his profession is not doing their job. You know, when people come to the doctor obese and with type 2 diabetes and with high blood pressure, the doctor should say, "What have you been eating?" And the doctor should know about nutrition and be able to counsel the patient about it because, in fact, everybody who comes to the doctor, obese and with type 2 diabetes and high blood pressure, has eaten their way into that. Now, type 1 diabetes, you don't eat your way into, but the type 2 diabetes, generally you do. And, but doctors don't seem to even know about it because they're not taught nutrition in medical school.
I've heard they have 4 hours of instruction, something like that.
It would like it's like being trained to be an architect and not being taught about load-bearing systems. And so, how could they not teach the most important thing about health? It's appalling. It's shocking.
Yes.
And, uh, it would be like not mentioning the Constitution in law school. How could you not teach nutrition in medical school?
Well,
But
and the new dietary guidelines take us backward. If anyone can
it's
actually understand that food pyramid, which is more
the
like a
upside down
trapezoid, I
pyramid.
think.
So, it's just all appalling. And so, in this book, Moving Medicine Forward, um, first, everybody, the general public can read this and learn what their doctors should have been taught in medical school. So, and not that it's so, it's for the lay reader, for the general public, but it is the information that you need to know to protect your health and that you need to know about nutrition. But what I'm hoping is enough people will read it and give it to their doctors. And also, Dr. Klaper lectures in medical schools, and we'll try to see to it that the future doctors read this book. And once people understand the fairly clear and obvious lessons that are in this book about nutrition, then maybe people will turn more and more vegan. And not just vegan, but whole food vegan, healthy vegan.
So, Glenn, I think there's some positive news on this front. I mean, there's data showing that the younger generation is definitely getting this message. And I think it comes from, there's other surveys and research out there showing that the younger generation, and I think we're talking Gen Z and up through 30, I forget what Gen Z is, but in that area, they have a lot of climate anxiety, and they should because we all do, right? But they realize they have to do something different than our generation did. Not counting you and me and vegans that have been doing this for many decades, but the people that haven't gotten this message yet and are contributing. I mean, the United States are the biggest meat eaters worldwide. And we know the methane is 80 times as potent and warming to the climate, and the impact from it is huge. Uh, so I don't know if you have anything to add to that, but the younger generation is definitely starting to make a change. So I don't know if you have any comments about
Yeah, and
that.
with methane, you hear all kinds of different numbers. The immediate um, climate warming effect of methane, I have actually heard as high as 130 or more times as powerful as carbon dioxide. But what they do is they discount it because over 10, 12 years, the methane degrades and turns into carbon dioxide and water. And so I've even heard some say, oh, when you factor in the time factor, you could only say it's 20 times. And that's what, of course, the animal agriculture industry likes to do is count methane as only 20 times as powerful as carbon dioxide. The problem with that is that as the methane is released into the atmosphere, it heats the atmosphere. And as it heats the atmosphere, it has effects such as drying out the soil. And then when the soil dries out and a forest fire is started, nobody gets to say, oh, we can't count that because if only we waited 12 years for the methane to turn into carbon dioxide and water, this wouldn't have happened. Well, the fire happened. And when the fire happened, we lose all those trees, we lose all that sequestration that we would have had,
Yeah.
and we have
Yes.
all that extra carbon going into the atmosphere. So a responsible accounting is more conservative and say, let's look at the worst case scenario. The worst case scenario is methane is 130 times as powerful as CO2. So let's do everything we can to not emit extra methane. What can we do to not emit extra methane because it's the largest part of the acceleration in greenhouse gases in the atmosphere? Well, let's see. Could we have a veggie burger instead of a hamburger? Could we stop raising the Amazon in order to graze the Amazon? So, that's what we need to do. We need to have responsible, conservative accounting for the greenhouse gases that we're putting into the atmosphere. And the easiest thing we can do would be to stop giving ourselves heart attacks by raising animals for food.
So Gerard Bishop, the climate scientist
Yeah,
from Australia, and I'm sure you've heard of him. He
I know
says,
Gerard. Yes.
oh, okay, so he's been on our show, on our podcast. He says 51% of all greenhouse gas emissions are from animal agriculture. And he includes, I think, the US government says something far different. They used to be saying 13 to 14%. I'm not sure what they're saying now. But he takes in the sequestration of carbon dioxide that is lost, the opportunity lost essentially from trees that are cut down, which you mentioned, which
Yeah.
nobody else counts. It's like, well, you
Yeah.
have to count it.
You
They were
have to
there.
count
They
it
were
to do
cleaning up.
responsible accounting.
They were cleaning up the methane and taking it out of the air for us, and now they're not there. So it's all part of the same issue. So I was really glad to hear you mention it. But yeah, it's a conundrum. And people think that one of the issues is people think that, you know, vegan food is expensive. Well, we both know that's not true. I don't know if you want to make any comments, but
If
lentils,
you go
beans,
to a
they're like the
gourmet
least
vegan
expensive
restaurant,
food.
maybe it is, but if you have beans and rice, it isn't.
Right. Lentils are the last time I bought a bag of lentils, I think it was $1.09 for the bag, and it was enough, to feed my husband and I for a couple days.
Yeah.
Um, well, so let's move on and talk about your film,
Yes.
Buddhist Blues.
Yeah, the movie is called Buddhist Blues. The website is buddhistblues.com. And I would certainly appreciate it if everybody would go to the website, buddhistblues.com, after you finish watching this interview. Uh, Go to the website, buddhistblues.com, watch the trailer. There's even a link there where you can listen to the theme song of the movie, where you can see the artwork that my wife Joanna did for the movie. But the important thing, sign up. There's a place where it says something like sign up to be notified of the release of the movie. And I hope that the movie will be released this summer, but we want to have the email addresses of everyone who would be interested in seeing the movie. And then we want everyone to see the movie and spread the word. Now, the question is this a vegan movie? Is this a documentary? No, it's not a documentary. And I don't know if I can call it a vegan movie or not. It is a fiction film, but the lead role, the hero, if you will, of the movie is vegan. And he has a girlfriend. This is set in 1993. He has a girlfriend who is vegetarian. And the subject comes up increasingly as the movie goes along. So it's about many other things. It's about a young man who's been estranged from his family and he's deciding whether or not to reunite with his family. Um, but so it's a movie about other things, not a movie about food, but the subject of food comes up. And it's a way of saying, vegans are people too. How often do you see a movie and the lead character is a vegan? And it's a romantic comedy, or it's a thriller, or it's this or that. But I don't remember seeing that. So in this case, it's a family drama, but the lead role is a character who's vegan, and then his girlfriend is vegetarian, and uh, it becomes part of the movie, even though it's not the whole thing that the movie is about.
And what area of the country does it take place in?
St. Louis. St.
Oh,
Louis in 1993.
well, how did you
That's why
pick
in
that
the,
year?
excuse me,
How did you pick
how did I pick
that
St.
year?
Louis?
No, why that year, 1993?
Oh, um, 1993 was a crucial year in American history. It was the year that Bill Clinton became president, sort of turning the page politically and a sense of optimism that maybe we were going to have a new generation of leadership. It was around the time when personal computers were starting to be widely used. It was the year of the first World Trade Tower bombing. Um, Not the one that knocked the towers down, but the first indication that that kind of terrorism was going to be part of our future. And It was the year of the Waco, Texas tragedy. And it was somehow a more innocent time, but a time where maybe we were starting to lose some innocence as a culture. So it just felt like the right time for this movie. And we set the movie in St. Louis, frankly, because I had an opportunity to shoot it in St. Louis. When I had initially written it, it was set in New York City. And my first thought when I had an opportunity to shoot it in St. Louis is, how am I going to make this look like a New York City brownstone? And then I thought, well, why does it have to be New York City? Why can't these people live in St. Louis? And so we just embraced St. Louis.
All right. Well, that's exciting. Um, and so it will become available in,
I hope this summer, and that's why I need everybody's email addresses who would be interested in seeing it. Go to buddhistblues.com, so watch the trailer, scroll down a little bit, and enter your email address. You're not going to get flooded with emails. We just want to tell you when the movie's available. Then we want you to see it, and we're going to try to make it possible that people could then, if they enjoy the movie, gift it, buy it again, rent it again, as it were, and gift it to other people and kind of pay it forward and everyone can see it. So I hope we can set up that technology.
well, so I belong to a couple groups, the DC Veg Society and also DC Eco Women. And I'm sure both of those would be interested in running it in their newsletters. So
That
we'll
would be
have to
great.
get a little promo to them about it
Yeah,
and some information because I'm pretty sure they would love it. And maybe the
right,
DC Eco Women would even have sort of a film day to show it.
right. And the analogy I like to use, Jane, is that if you remember when Barack Obama ran for president in 2008, and if he was ever asked about gay marriage, he said, no, marriage is between a man and a woman. He did not come out in support of gay marriage. I think he was in favor of gay marriage, but he didn't want to lose the election. And at that point in our history, gay marriage had minority support, maybe 20% support. When he ran for re-election in 2012, he also didn't support it. But by the time his second term was over, in 2015, the Supreme Court made gay marriage the law of the land. So, what had happened in the interim? Well, what had happened in the interim was we had the TV show Ellen, we had the TV show Will and Grace, we had movies with gay characters, and they weren't all about being gay. They were just showing gay characters in life like everyone else. So that's what I am trying to do in my small way with this one movie. It's vegan characters. We're like everyone else, except we're not destroying the planet. So, uh, it's just one movie. I hope to make more, and I hope other people will make more. But I'm trying to, uh, you know, make vegan characters mainstream.
Well, you should enter it in the vegan film
Yeah,
festival.
yeah,
Uh,
I'll probably do that. I think that's in Toronto.
I interviewed, I think
Ray?
he was the first place winner that did vegan zombies.
Okay.
Was hilarious. So anyway, it was very well done. And, they showed it at the meeting.
hmm
Whose meeting was that? It was a vegan group that met up there. I don't know if it was Salish's. I think it was Salish's meeting. Was in Toronto, and that filmmaker was also from Toronto, so he was
Okay.
there. But anyway, let's get back to you. But I like that you're making ripples and creating that wave that, let's hope, simulates the one that also started with the Supreme Court. This is a little
Yeah.
different, but I think you're right. Once you start seeing this on TV and in
Yeah.
movies, it grows. So here's a question for you. You began your career in Hollywood, right, as a
Yes.
screenwriter. So what
Yeah.
inspired your shift from entertainment to writing about food, health, and climate?
Well, I wrote for network television for 10 years, and then I got an opportunity to write with Howard Lyman his book Mad Cowboy. Um, and In fact, Howard had pitched it first to me that I could write a movie about it, about his life. And at the time, I didn't see where there would be a good movie in it. And then he said, "Well, how about a book?" And I said, "Well, a book I could try." Howard Lyman's story was that he was a fourth generation cattle rancher in Montana, turned vegan and then animal rights activist. So his health got much better. He's alive and well today at the age of 86. And I speak with him from time to time. And then I did eventually write a movie with the same title, Mad Cowboy, about Howard's life. But it hasn't been made yet. So if anybody is listening out there and you want to invest a few $1 million in the movie Mad Cowboy, let me know. Um, so um, when I got the opportunity to write Mad Cowboy, that was published by Simon and Schuster. They then asked us to write a sequel, which was a book called No More Bull. And then Chef AJ asked me to help her with a few books. And then I wrote a book called Own Your Health. And then I wrote Food is Climate and a book called America Goes Vegan. And then I got this great opportunity to write Moving Medicine Forward with Dr. Michael Klaper. And I really think this is an important book that, if we can get it into the hands of medical students around the country, and just if people will read it and maybe give it to their doctors,
Yeah.
maybe,
I ordered it and
yeah.
it hasn't come yet. I ordered
Well,
it on
I will
Amazon.
call Amazon and yell at them.
I know. I was wondering today, where is it?
Yeah.
Usually they're better than that. I hope.
Yeah. Other
So I
people
live in
have
a
gotten it.
condo. Sometimes packages are missing and misdelivered, but I
Yeah.
didn't get a confirmation that it was coming. Anyway, I do need to check on that. But let's get some more of your thoughts. One of them is, what do you think are some of the biggest misconceptions that people still have about plant-based eating?
Um, Yeah, they have several. Of course, there's the old one where they worry if they're going to get enough protein, which is just silly. I wish they would just look at people like you and me and say, they look fine. They're not falling down. There's not one person in America today. What do we have? 350 million people. There's not one
Right.
person in a hospital in America today for lack of protein. It's just not a problem. It's a manufactured fear. If you eat enough food, as long as it isn't all, lollipops or something, you're going to get protein. And if you're concerned about it, then eat more lentils and beans and tofu and tempeh. But the idea that you should have anything to worry about with protein is silly. And vegetables are very high in protein, and mushrooms are high in protein. And if you're really worried about it, and you shouldn't, I suppose you could get some of these plant-based protein powders, but I never do, and I don't worry about it. So that's not a good reason not to go vegan. And in fact, animal protein is inferior to plant protein because animal protein is high in the amino acid methionine. And methionine is definitively linked to cancer. So you don't want to have a lot of animal protein. In fact, you don't want to have any animal protein. So plant protein is superior protein, and it's also superior because it's not excessive. Because what can you do with excessive protein? You just pee it out. The body doesn't store protein. So why would you want to have twice as much protein as you need? You're just straining your kidneys. Why stress your kidneys? So, um, so there's no point in excessive protein, and animal protein is inferior, plant protein is superior. So get your protein from plants, which are the organisms that create the protein in the first place.
So, Glenn, that's very articulately stated. We had hospitals in New York, the public hospitals, when Eric Adams was the mayor. I think there's six public hospitals that he had got started down the path of eating plant-based and using eating plant-based as a medicine to help people slim down, get healthy. I
Right.
haven't heard anything kind of further about that in quite a while. I just wondered if you've
Yeah,
heard,
as
has
far as
that
I know,
spread anywhere?
yeah, as far as I know, it's been a smashing success. The people in hospitals in New York are often being fed actual healthy food, which is not something that happens anywhere in any hospitals anywhere else in the country. And I think it's been a success. It will probably be the best part of Mayor Adams' legacy. So I hope the new mayor is keeping it up. I haven't heard about that. But yes, that program has worked well to try to get healthy food into the hospitals in New York.
So we've kind of covered this a bit, but I think it'd be good to repeat it because I think, if anything, we hope that we both can be advocates and get more people to really try eating plant-based. But what do you think is the biggest misconception people still have about eating plants? The protein is one, but
Protein is one. Some people imagine that it's more expensive. It doesn't need to be expensive. Beans and rice and lentils are inexpensive. Fruits and vegetables, have varying prices, but in general, they're not as expensive as meat. And you know what's expensive is going to the doctor. Uh,
yes.
and I have been a vegan now for 35 years, and I generally go to the doctor once a year just to ask him how he's feeling, kind of check up on him. But I don't find that I need to go to the doctor very often. So, it's the only time I go. I'd like to monitor my blood work once a year, so have a checkup, but I've been fine.
I
Uh,
know it's amazing, really. And it would be hopeful if what New York did could spread across the country.
yeah.
You brought up that doctors really are the ones that need to take more of a lead on this. Um, so we both know it's eating vegan isn't some difficult thing. There's so much variety. It's certainly easier now than the 35 years ago when you started, probably. And it's certainly, I have never found it. I mean, there's so many delicious foods and people that are sort of wedded to the idea of burgers. We buy some of the Beyond Burgers and other brands that are indistinguishable. I think Burger King did a taste test and used them and said absolutely no one could tell the difference between
Yeah.
the vegan burgers and the meat burgers. So, what's one simple step that people can take to move that you think that you recommend to move toward a more plant-based lifestyle?
Well, there's a little bit of a controversy or a discussion um, in the plant-based movement. Is it best to encourage gradualism or
Cut the
or
cord.
or cut the cord and go overnight vegan? And I guess it depends on the person. I guess there are some people who need to start with Meatless Monday or something and start slow and work their way. I don't know. I'm not that kind of person. So I would recommend if you're not a vegan, if you're eating the standard American diet, excuse me, my recommendation would be stop right now, stop, and immediately just decide you're never going to have animal foods again for the rest of your life. That would be my recommendation. Now, if your response is I couldn't possibly do that, then I say, okay, well then do it gradually. Can you do every other day vegan and then work up to every day? Do what you can do. Everything, every step in the positive direction, I welcome. It's just that I want to try to, as near as I can, almost guarantee you good health. I want to say when you do this, you'll find that all your blood work will get better, your health metrics will get better, you'll be less likely to develop serious diseases. And if your attitude is going to be, I'm just going to start with meatless Mondays, well, I can't promise you anything because that means Tuesday through Sunday, you're doing a lot of damage to your body. So I recommend if you can do it, and it isn't hard, if you just, when I say if you can do it, everyone can do it. It's just if you can get past whatever psychological blockage you have that makes you think it's difficult. If you could get past that psychological blockage, just do it just overnight. Tell yourself it's bad for me to eat animal foods. It's bad for my body. I want to live long and be healthy and have active years when I'm a senior citizen. And I want to see, if you have children, I want to see my children get married or see my grandchildren or see my great grandchildren. So, the best thing you can do for your health is to eat a diet of whole plant foods. Now, that's not quite enough because also we don't want these plant foods to be fried like French fries. And we don't want sugar poured on your oatmeal because all those things are maybe vegan, but they're unhealthy. So what I ask people to do is eat a whole plant food diet. So have organic berries on your oatmeal instead of sugar and maple syrup. Have
Or they can use stevia. Stevia is made from plants. It's not
okay.
a chemical. Well,
Yeah,
I mean, it
but
has a
nothing's
chemical.
better than organic berries.
That's
Organic
true.
organic blueberries, organic strawberries, raspberries. So have as much variety of plant foods as you can. The author and Dr. Will Bushevitz wrote a book called Fiber Fueled. His mantra is diversity of plants, diversity of plants, diversity of plants. So what I do is even when I make a bowl of oatmeal, I'll often take some arugula and put it on the bottom of the bowl. So I'm having some greens. I have some oatmeal on top of the greens. I have some organic berries on top of the oatmeal. Maybe I add some cinnamon. And I'm getting a lot of plant foods into my breakfast. And it's just it's like eating the taste of health when you're eating meals. And it's been keeping me going strong. And that's what I recommend doing, not making excuses and saying, well, maybe I can have a little more plant food and a little fewer meals with chicken or something. Just get the animal foods out of your diet. It's all unhealthy. It can all kill you. So just get rid of it.
Well, I think some people aren't ready for that. And I think truthfully, people in our generation are less ready for it. As I mentioned before, the younger generation They feel the anxiety for climate change. They know it's up to them to do something about it. And I think they're willing to, at least a survey that we did recently says they are willing to, but we'll
Yeah.
see. We're often willing, but do we do it? But for those that want to take it more slowly and just put their toe in the water, we have a pledge on our website called the Meat Down Pledge, although I'm thinking of changing that to the Pro Veg Pledge because we don't
That has
have
a
to,
nice ring.
doesn't have to be negative, right? Let's just talk about the positive, as you point out, plants. They're delicious, they're easy to eat, and they cure your body. They don't cure your body. You're just healthy to start with.
Yeah.
And we're saving all that money on doctors. But trying it one day a week is a way to start, I think, for some people to just see, first of all, if they haven't really tried vegan food, surprisingly amazing amounts of new things. When I go to my Safeway, I would say 2 years ago, they had the shelf space was about this wide in the freezer department.
Hmm.
Now they have it's at least double, if not triple, from a year
Hmm.
ago. So that tells me more of the mainstream population is really taking to plant-based foods.
Right.
So I think that's definitely a positive for the climate. So let's wrap this up. And I just want to ask you if you have any last things you'd like to share with our audience. Maybe I can also tell them about my book. And I don't know if you know about
Please.
our cookbook, Power of Your Plate.
Okay. Tell me about the power of your plate.
Well, it's a vegan cookbook, and some of these recipes, a lot of these are my own, some of them from other vegans. A lot of stuff we all make, hummus, but read my Aunt Margaret's recipe for wacky cake, which is vegan, but I think that she's no longer with us. But I think during World War II, there were probably rationing of things like eggs, and so someone created a vegan cake, and it's rises like a regular cake and no milk in it, no dairy. So it's a delicious, fluffy cake. So anyway, my Aunt Margaret's wacky cake is in there, but it's all vegan and good stuff. It's on Amazon.
Okay. I have a little story about rationing in World War II,
Okay, let's
which
hear
is
it.
this. A lot of people think that heart disease is caused by stress, and I'm sure it is a factor. But in World War II, in places like London and Greece, they were being bombed by the Nazis. So that's a lot of stress, isn't
Yeah,
it,
for
to be
sure.
bombed? And their rate of heart disease went down.
Oh,
Why would the rate of heart disease go down when you're under such stress? The Nazis are dropping bombs on you. Well, the reason is meat was being rationed. There wasn't much meat.
that
So,
is interesting.
yeah, so the answer is meat is the real cause. Stress could just aggravate.
That is interesting. That is corroboration, I think, for uh for eating more plants, eating all plants. Well, Glenn, this has just been delightful to hear about your film, your movie, and your new book. I'm eager to read it. I'm waiting to read it.
Yes,
I
Amazon,
hope
hurry up.
I'm going to
Who's
call
waiting?
Amazon and say, all
Yeah.
right, already. I ordered it when we first talked a week ago, so I don't know what's going on, but it's been a pleasure to have you with us. We'll add some links so people can write in and get on the
Okay.
list for the movie.
Okay.
And I hope you'll let me know when you're ready to come back and talk again, because I'd love to have you back again.
Okay. Well, let's do it again soon. Take
Thanks,
care.
everybody. This has been Climate and Cuisine with Glen Mercer, talking about his new movie and his new book. So join us again when you have time. You can see us on YouTube and on the podcast channels and on Climate Diet's website. So thank you, Glenn, and thank you all for joining us today.
Thank you, Jane.